An outdoor kitchen. It's a great place to get together with friends and family or just cook some breakfast on a beautiful winter day. I built this one a couple years ago and now it's time to make it a little better with a roof, a floor, more counter space, and maybe some lights. So kick back, relax, and let's build something cool. The dimensions I've decided on are 12 feet wide with the width of the grill and 16 feet long. That should give me enough area for a picnic table and have enough room to have maybe a counter next to the grill and maybe something going along this wall a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is make sure that I've got it square with the grill. I don't want the grill to be sitting kitty corner inside the pavilion. So I'm going to put one stake 6 inches off of the back of this. Another stake 6 inches back. This establishes a nice straight line. It's square with the grill, and that will keep my building square with the grill as well. Then I'll just lay out off of that line. I like to set these footing pads anywhere the posts are going. That way I know I dig the hole big enough so they fit. My old countertop was in the way, so I have to take that out. I'm going to redo it anyways and try to incorporate it into this pavilion. This has been a project I've wanted to do for quite a long time. I just couldn't figure out exactly how I wanted to build this. I knew I wanted a roof over it, but I didn't want to get choked out with smoke. I knew I wanted a floor, but I wasn't sure what I wanted the floor to be made of. So now that I've got it figured out, I think it's going to turn out great. A friend of mine pointed out a while back that you don't want to drop these posts because you can break your footing pad. And if you break your footing pad, then you have to pull the post out, pull the footing pad out, and go buy another footing pad. So I've been a lot more careful about setting these posts lately. Setting posts is pretty hard work, but lucky for me, I've got great supervisors. They're always saying, hey, come take a break, pet us. These little brackets make it possible for me to set the header by myself. It's like having an extra set of hands. When I build stuff like this, I find my favorite way to set posts is to get the corners all set and backfilled. Then I install my header before digging around the center posts. That way I can screw the center post to the header and have both hands free for backfilling. Makes it a lot easier. For this build, I decided I was going to use trusses, but I'm not buying trusses, I'm building my own. I wanted to have the spacing wide, so I'm going with a 4-foot spacing, and because I'm going with 4-foot spacing, I'm using 2x6s, so the trusses are a little stronger. The reason I decided to go with a 4-foot spacing is so I get a little more light through the roof, because I'm going to use 4 clear panels, that way it'll be nice and bright inside. So first what I'll do is I'll get one truss fully built. I'll make sure it's perfect, and then I'll use those boards as a pattern to cut all the boards for the rest of the trusses. Once those are all cut, I'll put all the trusses together and put them up.
5 inches up. There, I've got 79 1/4. 79 1/2. 79 3/8. 79 3/8. Should be perfect.
Once I've got it where I want it, before I move anything, I nail down blocks so that I can set the boards directly in those blocks, and it'll be quick and easy to put back together. Then I'll use it all for a template. This tree was dead and was definitely going to get in the way for setting trusses. I thought I'd cut it off a little high and maybe put a tabletop on it later on. Well, break time's over. Now I just need to lay out my trusses and get them set. I think if I can lay out my purlins from the peak, considering where the ridge cap's got a screw to, and go down, I should be able to lay them out and not have to do it later, like crawling around up there. Just be able to put a board on, nail it, nail it, nail it. I forgot with these other two, so I'll just put them in the middle somewhere.
Mark them all.
My brother popped over to help me set these trusses. It's always nice to work together, and I sure am grateful for the help.
Oh yeah, that's good. See my line?
Yep.
I nail on these little blocks to hold my last purlin in place. It puts it right where it needs to be for the fascia to nail to it. Made a lot of progress today, and I figured I'd have one last dinner out here before I closed the roof in and made it a totally different feel.
Nice fresh batch of morel mushrooms.
It's too bad my brother didn't stick around for dinner, but we found so many mushrooms this spring, I'm sure he doesn't feel like he missed out.
I didn't quite time it right with the burgers and the mushrooms, so I'll just eat my burger while these mushrooms cook. Maple, you're ready for a burger, aren't you? That's so good. Go ahead, guys. I don't think we can have mushrooms.
I stained all my fascia boards before I put them up. I almost wish I would have stained the trusses before I put them up. That'd probably look really nice. Clamping these little blocks on basically gives me a stop to push the fascia against. That puts it right in the right place, and I can nail it on and not have to move it around. These lags are just a little extra support. I almost forgot about them. I took all my measurements from the top purlin down to the centers of each purlin. Then I'll lay them out on the steel and pre-drill the holes. It makes it a lot easier. It's a lot quicker to run the screws in, and it's easier to keep your screws in a straight line. Once the roof was on, I had to level out this hillside. That was one of the downsides about where I built it. I built it on a hill, and it kind of just didn't lend itself very well to having a floor at the right height. So I use a rototiller. It seems to be about the easiest way, aside from renting an expensive piece of machinery, to level dirt. "8'4". And from 8'4", we're going to subtract. This is a 6, so 5.5 plus 1.5 inches. We're going to subtract 7 inches. This pencil line is going to be the top of my floor joist. So my floor is going to be right up in here somewhere. And I realize if I don't take this hill down, everything's just going to wash down the hill on top of the floor. So I'm going to have to kind of work this hill down, maybe take some of the dirt over to the other side.
Had this block laying around forever. Do something with it.
I'm building this floor system out away from the grill a couple feet. That way I can use the blocks for pavers around the front and sides, so if coals fall out of the grill, they land on blocks as opposed to on the wood floor. I went back through and added joist hangers to all the long spans. And after I was done with that, I put blocks under each center to help support them and make them solid. The trick here is just to lift up a little bit on the joist so when you let off, it has some down pressure on the block.
No more bounce, no more flex.
I actually started building this project in late spring, and I probably wasted 2 months trying to decide how I wanted to build this floor. I thought about pavers, I thought about rough sawn lumber off the property. Finally, I just came to the point where I said, I need to get this done. So I just went and bought some lumber, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Sometimes you just gotta get to work. Stop overthinking things, stop trying to be cheap, just go for it.
About 3 5/8 is what I want. I'm going to give myself a little bit of room, so I'm going to go 30 3/4 of an inch in the grill.
I got a chance to find out that my roof does not leak. It's a beautiful day. Now I need some sand to put under the pavers, build them up to the right height, and give them a nice solid base. Luckily, once I get through the topsoil, it's nothing but sand, and it's perfect for underneath the pavers.
Charlie, watch out, buddy. Watch out. Not quite level.
A little more sand to lock those pavers in place, and this floor will be done.
So just try to...
Now that floor is finally done, I'm going to build some countertops. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways you could do this, but I just wanted a quick, easy, simple way to go, and this worked out really well. Having a lot of counter space is really going to make the difference here. The way it was set up before, I just had that one little live edge table, and it was nice, but there definitely wasn't enough room. This is going to make it a lot nicer.
Getting pretty solid.
pretty solid, but I think it needs another brace. So I'm gonna run an angle brace down to this post. That's getting pretty strong. This end could use a knee brace. Really solid. Still want to use this. This is going to be a bench, just a nice little spot to sit down while you're cooking. This is going to be my battery box. Since I've been working on this pavilion, I've also been upgrading the cabin's solar. So I'm taking the solar power out of the cabin and putting it in the pavilion. This box is going to hold my battery. I wanted it to be in a spot that would keep the battery out of the way, and I thought this would work perfect. This table's definitely seen its better days. Being outside and uncovered, it's got a lot of mildew. I'm just going to sand it all down and give it a fresh coat of stain. Should look like new. Really, that's one of the things I love about working with wood. It can sit outside, get gray and weathered and look pretty bad. You run it through a planer or sand it really well, and that wood can look like brand new inside. Give it a nice coat of stain and good to go. I'm really looking forward to having lights out here. There's been a lot of times I'll start cooking, it'll get dark, and the food won't be done, and then I don't know whether it's done or not, which normally leads to me overcooking it. I'm leaving some slack in this corner. That's where I'm going to cut the wire and tie that wire into my light switch to power the lights. I decided I'd add a knee brace to this battery box. That way I can feel comfortable that that battery is not going to fall on someone's head. I like that. That's much better. Okay. There we go. I'm going to put the charge controller a little closer to the battery. For my AC wire, I'm using an old extension cord. There wasn't anything wrong with the cord itself, just the end had melted. But for what I need, it works perfect, and it saves me from buying more wire. I was really having a hard time deciding where I wanted to hang the solar panels, but then I saw this tree and thought, hey, well, that'll work perfect. I'm just going to hang them all off the tree, use the same system I used on the cabin so that it can tilt out, and it should be good to go. This rope I'm screwing to the tree is just going to be basically a cable grip, something to help support that cable up above your head. He's up. Alright, now that will stop this from being able to fall. So I'm installing an AC switch, and that switch is going to power two little ceiling fans that go into light sockets, and then the DC switch is going to power the lights that run around the outside of the pavilion. Those will be 12 volt. Now I'm going to need some kind of smoke hood over top of the grill. Otherwise I think that smoke's going to stain the ceiling a lot and it'll probably stay in there a lot. So originally my thought was I was going to take a 55-gallon drum, cut it in half, and mount that up above it with some chimneys. But the more I thought about it, I put a lot of work into this pavilion and I really want this to look just as good as the rest. So I went to a metal shop. I bought this thin gauge metal. I believe it's 20 gauge. And I'm just going to form it, cut it down to the size that I need, screw it all together, and it should turn out really well. These bent pieces will be the top and the sides. This piece is going to be the end.
My plan is to trace the inside, then draw a line a couple inches out all the way around that. Then I'll notch at the corners so that I can bend those flaps over, and those flaps will slide inside the sides on the top, and then I can screw it together. Yep. Thanks. That should do it.
Yeah, that was way better than the barrel one.
It does. I'm going to put 2 pipes coming up. 11, 22. Figured the easiest and safest way to mount this thing by myself would be to put a couple angle brackets on the end so I can slide it up there and it can sit down on top of those 2x6s, and I'll have my hands free to work. You know what will really matter is the top, because I want my stacks to go straight up. Right there. This pipe works really well. As soon as you set the griddle on top of the firebox, it diverts a lot of the smoke up this pipe, so I'm going to extend it past the roof.
One thing I might do still is try to drive a well here. I think the water table's a little low, so it might not happen, but if I can, I'd like to get a well in and put a sink in here. If not, I'll probably put a sink in here, build maybe some kind of shelf for a water tank so it just pours down into the sink. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be seeing you soon.